Are you searching for a deeper understanding of your faith?
Inspiring Philosophy is your go-to resource for exploring the rich tapestry of Christian thought.
From biblical archaeology to philosophy of mind, we dive into the topics that matter.
Our content bridges faith and understanding, offering insights into God's existence and the reliability of the New Testament.
Join a community where faith meets reason and discover the answers you've been seeking.
Inspiring Philosophy, where faith meets understanding. We are live. What up, Than? How you doing?
Yo, yo, yo.
All right. Stop that nonsense. I'm trying to be professional here. All right. Cool. So,
hello, brethren.
What's going on? So, in our Discord server, you sent me a video. I was like, oh, gosh. Well, we don't have anything else going on this week. An interview I was going to do got pushed back. I was like, this is perfect. We'll just do this. So for the update, everyone, I did a debate with Dan Barker a couple of weeks ago on which is better for humanity, Christianity, or secular humanism. That was an absolute disaster for the atheist, secularist side. And I thought that was pretty much done. Well, lo and behold, a psychologist has decided to respond to my opening statement. And since I'm studying this topic a lot, I'm going to upload a pretty long video on this, with taking my opening statement and really expanding it to a 40-minute video. I was like, yeah, let's just talk about this. What were your thoughts on this response? So just recap. I debated Dan Barker, triggered the atheist community, and an atheist psychologist decided to review part of my opening statement and criticize and accuse me of doing poor research. What were your thoughts, Than?
Yeah. I found the critiques to be mainly very opaque. And what I mean is it's very, well, what does he mean by this? And what does he mean by this? And he's trying to he's asking good questions, but I think he's asking the good questions in a wrong way, in a way that doesn't actually lead to a good dialectical progress in the sociological modeling. That makes sense.
Yeah. I get that. He also,
yeah, and there's other things we'll point out as we watch, but I was actually looking forward to this when people sent it to us, because I was like, maybe we actually got something on our hands that we have to do more research on and really solidify our argumentation on, but that didn't happen. At least I don't feel like that.
Yeah, that didn't happen. It took me maybe an hour to watch it and prepare notes. I'm just like, okay, here we go again, missing the point, straw manning, just accusing me of bad research, himself doing that, as we'll get into one of the studies he cited. Wow, a lot to go through here. But yeah, I'm excited to go through this. I've been wanting to study this topic. I've used to debate constantly the idea, is Christianity dangerous or harmful? And then one day I realized, this is stupid. Why am I being on the defense here? We should be doing a comparison here. Which is better, this secular humanist, secularist worldview, or Christianity? So I debated Phil Zuckerman, an actual sociologist. He didn't do that well. And I'm like, well, I'll just use basically the same opening statement with Lawrence Krauss. That way, he'll know a lot of what I'm going to argue beforehand. He didn't do that well. And then I also went on Tim Pool, kind of had a discussion with an atheist on this. Had a discussion with Stephen Law on this when I was in Britain, and then I debated Dan Barker. Yeah, I mean, same said in that. Look, I'm just using the same opening statement on Lawrence Krauss. So Should have been plenty of time to prepare research for this. But yeah. Then I was like, well, okay, now we're going to get some actual critiques. And unfortunately, we didn't get that, as you'll see when we get into this video. Once again, there is no evidence that secularism is better for humanity than Christianity, as we'll get into. Super chat says, didgeridoo as
didgeridoo. Where's my didgeridoo?
What are you what is a didgeridoo? What are you talking about?
I'll be right back. You'll see.
What is happening? This is ridiculous. Now he's left the room. He just walked out of the room in a stream. See the unprofessionalness, ladies and gentlemen. As we start, you're cherry picking and bias. Goodbye. Yes, that is true. This is true. I don't know if he accused me of cherry picking. What is that? Oh, that's your weird horn, isn't it?
It's the weird horn. It's a didgeridoo.
Yeah, a horn. That's gross. Awesome. All right, let's just jump right into the video. We got a lot to go through, as we always do with videos like this. We're just gonna hit the highlights. I'm not just gonna play 30 minutes because he repeats himself and uses similar arguments throughout. So let's dive right in. Here we go. And normally I wouldn't respond to a smaller video like this, but I tend to leave the smaller creators alone. But again, I'm interested in this topic right now. He's supposed to have some sort of expertise in the related field. So I was like, why not? Let's see what he's got to say.
Yeah. Video is my response to Mike Jones's claims. I'm going to walk you through how he distorts research in order to make it fit a specific story, and how he sneaks in claims the sources do not actually support. This will be a series of videos because there is a lot to cover. I do not.
I just really quickly want to point this out. Pay attention exactly to what he just said there, and then you guys decide if that is what Mike is actually doing.
Please
do. Is Mike distorting the research, or is he just putting together research and then making inferences based off of a collection of data?
Well, I saw someone sent me this comment when I told him I was going to respond to it. So he went through and looked through the comments. Here's something he put up. He said, this is something I plan to address in part 2. Now, this is talking about my argument from birth rates. I made the case that Christianity can produce sustainable birth rates. Secularism cannot. He says, basically, Mike is presenting a false dilemma for secularists. Either die out or let Muslims take over. But there's nothing to suggest that Christianity is the only solution to low birth rates if we don't want Islam to dominate. He is treating humanity as if they are incapable of coming up with creative solutions to new modern problems. Bro, you're saying I'm distorting research. This is a blatant distortion of what I argue. Than, Did I ever argue that Christianity is the only solution to low birth rates?
I believe the word is optimal.
There we go. When you're in a debate and you're comparing two things, nowhere did I say we either have secularism and the Islam taking over, or we have Christianity. This is a total and blatant straw man. I'm just saying, but in a comparison that between secularism and Christianity can produce sustainable birth rates, secularism cannot. And given the current trends, there is a possibility that Islam could take over Europe. Now, if you've asked me that, based on the research of like Kaufman's book, Shall the Religious Inherit the Earth, I don't think that's necessarily going to happen, but I never said this is definitely going to happen. So he's accusing me of poor research. He's already straw man my position. So bro, when you create part 2 and 3, correct yourself here. This is inaccurate. This is a straw man in my position. Pointing out Christianity can produce sustainable birth rates and secularism cannot is not a false dilemma.
Wait, and I also just want to know, like, what he's hearing you say that makes him think he's treating humanity as if, what do you say, they can't come up with creative solutions, blah, blah, blah. I've never heard you say, and I've never said, you guys, you secularists, it's impossible. You're never going to actually get rid of the birth rate problem or any. No, if something changes, we'll update the argument. Right. Yeah. But that's just not what's happening right now.
Well, I remember hearing, I forget who it is, but it was an atheist. He was arguing that, well, Japan is investing a lot of money, and they're pretty secular, into controlling the birth rates. And I'm like, bro, that's making the point for us. You're saying that if we don't have a religious society like Christian. You have to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to try to correct the birth rate.
You have to throw money at birth rates.
Right. Like, whereas if you just have a Christian society, you save all that money and can use it elsewhere. Like, you're making the point for it. So no, I completely agree. Secularists will try to come up with creative ways to solve that. That'll be making the argument for us, because they now have to spend a lot of money and time trying to fix this problem that they wouldn't have if they were Christian societies or traditional other religious societies. Like,
which is still then fine. You got rid of the birth rate problem, but now you have another problem, which is just the fact that all your resources are going, a big chunk of your resources are now going into correcting birth rate problems, where if we have a Christian society, the resources are there for other things that we need to take care of.
Mm-hmm. Correct. All right, let's play the next section I have queued up here.
Before touching any data, step 1 in the debate is to state your claim clearly. Mike does that here. Good. But listen to how broad it is. Christianity creates more optimal societies. It is a big claim that needs careful definitions, which brings us to tip 1. Always ask, what do you mean by ... Start with the word Christianity. What does Mike mean by that? All Christian traditions across history, including the ones that defended slavery and persecution of heretics and pagans? Or a narrower version he prefers? Does he mean Christians as people, or Christianity as an institution and set of doctrines? If he differentiates those, how? The debate title is not very nuanced, so some of this is not on Mike. Still, he could tell us which Christianity he is majoring. In other debates, he sometimes points to the Nicene Creed. That still leaves a wide range of beliefs and practices. You will see why this kind of fog helps him. It lets him slide towards a no true Scotsman fallacy.
So it doesn't. We'll get to that in a little bit, but I want to stop here. It's not complicated. Listen, you don't have to get lost in the weeds and definitions on this. There's a clear difference between, like, say, a Christian society and an Islamic society. There is and I also go on and explain what I mean by optimal throughout my opening statement. I gave several metrics: sustainable birth rates, lower levels of depression, better mental health, lower levels of authoritarianism, more volunteering, which creates better communities, as the research shows. So that's what I meant by optimal. Like, I don't, like, this is just getting lost in the weeds that is just completely unnecessary. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, this is not a hugely controversial issue. Like, sure, if you want to, like, get deep into the epistemic side of things, you could. But when we're talking about a sociological review of things, it doesn't have to get that deep, because we're talking about this broadly, what we can see in secular societies versus Christian societies. Not too complicated. Yeah. Let me jump back in.
When examples do not fit the story. Now look at the words he used: more optimal and progress. What counts as optimal? How do we measure progress? Life expectancy, civil rights, scientific output?
I mean, I literally explained that in the opening statement, man. I don't know what to tell. Like, he's upset that I didn't do it in the first 2 minutes. I'm like, wow. What else did I want to say? Yeah, I mean, like, this is just a pretty weird point. I don't even know why he spent so much time on this. But I mean, yeah,
I'm curious as to, like, where is this? Like, imagine for a second that this point is probative. Where is this type of response towards the counterparts who want to argue that Christianity is bad for society? Well, what kind of Christianity is bad for society, you guys? Like, most of the time, people don't actually really try to nuance that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, why are we nitpicking this when it comes from, like, a Christian arguing that it's beneficial, but not for against the people that are? I'm not saying I don't know about this guy, but this is more just something I've noticed recently after watching this. Like, anybody that tries to argue that Christianity is bad for society, most of the time they're actually really vague and opaque when it comes to how they argue and define these terms.
Yeah, and, like, this is also a problem we're going to see throughout. The way he's trying to throw things into the weeds just makes this entire debate completely meaningless. Like, if he thinks that, he then like a lot of the claims he makes throughout this video are also going to be meaningless because we can't really define Christian societies or Christianity or secular humanism in any sort of testable or observable way. Because like, well, it could mean something super specific. Like, well, no, when we're looking at it at a sociological perspective, we can observe how these things sort of play out. That's what multivariable analyses help us with, which I go
and
over.
we can even isolate specific beliefs that different like denominations will have and see if they predict for any pro-social or negative benefits even from there.
And we can look at the society of the multiple denominations more broadly and see the results that come out of them. Like, I mean, this was just a weird argument to make. If he's correct, he's actually just shooting himself in the foot long term, because none of this just becomes testable or observable or debatable. It's all just, everything is getting lost in the weeds at that point. But real quick, I'm going to do some super chats here. Mike, I think you're honest, just not as smart as God. This is true. Well, he's right. I mean, I'm definitely not as smart as God. That's the smartest thing I've ever heard a Muslim say.
Now, guys, Mike's not as smart as God. Can't trust him.
Okay, Christianity is better than secularism, but is it better than my new Zut energy drinks? Okay, I'm done. I'm done with that. Love the work you do. Help me during my struggles. Appreciate that, Petros. Since you like K-pop Demon Hunters, then please watch Vinland Saga. I promise you'll love it. It's embedded with Christian themes and philosophy. I'll try to take a look at it. I don't know if I like loved K-pop Demon Hunters. It was like good for like a children's film, but I'm already sick of it because she just plays the music all day long. And I'm like, okay, we've heard these enough. But no, I thought it was a good video to share because I think it just would help kids. I think it will be very beneficial for kids. And so once again, the main point I want to hit at is, what do I mean by optimal? I explained in the opening statement. Okay. Better communities because more volunteering, lower authoritarianism, sustainable birth rates, lower levels of depression, better mental health. Those are more optimal results that are coming out of Christian societies than secular ones. This is not complicated. I explained throughout my opening statement ways that Christianity will create more optimal societies. Like, anyway, let's continue on here with this guy's response, because he doesn't seem to get the point. But anyway, here's what I really want to go on, because he took issue with me the fact that I bring up studies on missionary work, but he won't address any of these studies.
Now, it's abundantly clear from multiple studies that Christianity has made the world a better place through missionary work.
This is where I have to stop and talk about history.
The
way missionary work gets celebrated in sweeping terms often erases what actually happened on the ground.
Bro, quick question. How many of those studies I cited did you read? Just curious. Just think about that as we go through this, because I have a whole video about how Christianity changed the world that goes through all those studies.
During colonial expansion. In the Americas, European arrival brought conquest and devastating disease. Estimates suggest that indigenous population fell from about 60 million in 1492 to about 6 million within about a century. That's a reduction of 90%. Whatever the exact breakdown between violence and epidemics, the result was catastrophic. Historians sometimes call it the Great Dying. Sure, indigenous nations fought one another at times, but they still built and sustained populations around 60 million across the Americas, taking a society from 60 million to 6 million, and only then teaching them kindness, forgiveness, and non-retaliation. Is that what we are calling optimal? So when someone says missionary
This is blatant whataboutism, but I digress. Let's let him finish.
activity clearly made the world better, we have to ask, better for whom and by what metric? If optimal society means safer, healthier, and more flourishing for the people already living there, the record is embarrassing.
So notice he didn't address any of the actual studies I gave, and he did blatant whataboutism. I want to go back to this paper he cited and just put it on the screen, because if you want to talk about doing poor research, this is poor research. This paper is not about Christian missionary activity. It's about the spread of disease caused by epidemics. That's not a result of Christianity. That's a result of contact between Europeans and First Peoples in the Americas. How is this the result of Christianity? The debate is, which is better for humanity, Christianity or secularism. If Europe was secular when we discovered the Americas, those diseases would still have spread. No one knew about germ theory when we made first contacts with the Americas. This is not something that flows from Christianity. If Chinese explorers had settled America before we did, diseases would have spread the same way. This is nothing to do with Christianity. Why is he bringing this up? To counter the several studies on missionary activity I've cited. This has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, I was a little confused about this too, because I would just love for part 2, right? If you're listening, maybe in part 2, if you're going to use this study as somehow evidence that Christianity like causes harm or something like that, can we like have a more detailed or explicit line of inferences you're making or something like that? Because what is this? I actually don't know what to do with this. This is just like you're throwing stuff at the wall and you're expecting me to see a picture, and I don't see the picture.
Yeah, I mean, this is not a contribution of missionaries. It isn't. You can say it is, but that just shows you don't know what you're talking about. People showing up, like if I were to go to church and get the flu from somebody, does that mean Christianity just gave me the flu? No, that would be silly. Yes. Because diseases spread because of human contact. It has nothing to do with an underlying ideology. To you even say that tells me you don't understand how the research works. And he didn't show this slide because he brought up the whole slavery thing. But I mean, like, I actually did give, because I didn't have time in my opening statement to go into a lot of that in detail, I put up this slide because these are the videos where I go into this in more detail. How Christianity created human rights. The first one, how Christianity changed the world, is where I go through a lot of these missionary studies. You also see, I have another one on how Christianity ended slavery. Other important ones. I mean, so that's to keep in mind. And again, let's go through some of this data because I want to talk about the whole contact because with native peoples, like, were they being slaughtered by Christians? No, there's actually some very interesting research that you can find in the work of like Brian Tierney and Tom Holland on this, on the historical. But let's just talk about the missionary activity here that I cited in that video. So this study, Protestant legacy, at the turn of the 19th century, nearly 70% of primary and secondary schools in the provinces were missionary run. This is in India. Protestant missionaries changed cultural norms to favor the need for boys and girls to be educated, and female education was boosted in regions where Protestantism had more influence. On average, regions that had a Protestant missions were associated with a 2.5% increase in the total population literacy rate. Now, this is an important study, and I'm going to spend some time on this one because they distinguish between colonialism and the effects of Christian missionary activity. Colonial advances, colonial invaders, colonial governors are not the same as Christian missionary activities. There's different motivators. So they say Christian missionary activity is consistently associated with better female education outcomes as measured by differences in education between men and women in the colonial period. It also continues to affect post-colonial variation in female education. These effects hold when we include the usual controls of direct British rule, modernization, European settlement, education expenditures, and post-colonial democracy, as well as those specifically employed in the studies of India, such as Islam, caste, and tribal state status, and land tenure. Okay. Interestingly, here's another quote. We also found that direct British rule was not consistently associated with better female education outcomes. Furthermore, it has a I always forget how to pronounce this word. Deleterious, whatever effect. It has a bad effect on gender equality and post-colonial education at some level of schooling. Okay. So the important thing to point out here is that it's not just coming from colonialism. It has to come directly from missionary activity, which does have a direct link to Christianity. Colonial rule does not. Okay, there's a difference there that needs to be pointed out. Sometimes, and if you check out Catherine Gerbner's book, Christian Slavery, she notes that a lot of the colonial rulers in the Sugar Islands were keeping missionaries away from evangelizing to their slaves. That is the most unchristian thing you could ever do. Are you going to blame that on Christianity? No, that would be absurd. Not everything coming out of Europe can be directly caused by Christianity. This is why we need to look at multivariable analyses, like a lot of these studies I've cited. Interesting fact about this study, you can just see the difference between Muslims, Hindus, and Christians. Christians were educating far more children, and this was directly tied to missionary activity. Study in Africa, the evidence we've obtained from the variety of identification strategies is consistent with our hypothesis that the early introduction of the printing press has long-term effects on contemporary civic and social capital. A wide literature points to higher social capital, leading to higher economic activities and higher well-being. And they note that the printing press was basically introduced by missionaries to print and spread the Bible as well as Christian literature. Going back to India, Christianity and infant health in India, access to medicine meant that death rates for children were lowest in Christian families. There was also evidence that consumption of alcohol and drugs, as well as things such as gambling and child marriage, decreased in areas where Christianity spread its influence, and that literacy rates among children were higher in families who converted to Christianity. In China, they found our investigation of historical facts and our empirical tests suggest that a greater Protestant presence results in better education and healthcare outcomes in 1920, and that these effects persisted into the present and contributed to economic growth in the year 2000. Again, more effects of missionary activity. And again, go watch my video, How Christianity Changed the World, if you want more details. Now, here's another important paper by Robert Woodbury, which I've cited extensively. And if this guy tries to bring up the one critique of him, that's going to be laughable because Woodbury has responded to them. But anyway, he says to reach their religious goals, non-state missionaries punished abusive colonial officials and counterbalanced white settlers, which fostered the rule of law, encouraged less violent repression of anti-colonial political organization, and facilitated peaceful decolonization. Again, you cannot just blame everything coming out of Europe on Christianity, because you have effects we can directly tie to the doctrines and teachings of Christianity as seen in missionary activity and those results. And we see over and over again that they are actually working against colonial abusers. They are fighting for the native people, like Bartolome de las Casas was a good example of that. Even today, you can look at the role of Protestantism in democratic consolidation among transitional states. They note higher Protestant populations are more likely to have higher levels of voice and accountability, political stability, citizen empowerment, and civil society pluralism. This was all, again, talked about in the videos I referenced. But let's talk about something Tom Holland talks about in his book, Dominion, okay? Here's something he points out. When scholars in Europe sought to justify the Spanish conquest of the New World, they reached not for the church fathers, but for Aristotle. As the philosopher says, it is clear that some men are slaves by nature and others free by nature. So he notes in his book, and he expands on this, talking about de las Casas a lot, that the missionaries, the cleric, the priest, they were arguing from the Bible and the church fathers. You need to treat these people better. The colonialists were breaching for Aristotle. Okay, yep. So justification for their colonialism, according to Tom Holland, and he also cites Brian Tierney, for example, was Aristotle, Greek philosophy. It wasn't Christianity. So we can cut a direct link between this when people want to do this bivariate means comparison and say the colonialists were Christian, therefore Christianity played a role in that. Well, no, we can actually look at the historical record and we can cut that, we can sever that link because they were trying to justify their abuses by citing Aristotle. How is this the result of Christianity when Christianity produced missionaries that fought against this kind of stuff? This is why you need to go into the research, dive into these papers. Again, this is a very important paper here that shows this stuff over and over again. But I digress. What do you want to say, Than?
Nothing. At least right now, I want to hear him engage in the literature.
Yeah.
That's the main thing I want to hear. So I'm just kind of waiting for that.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is why we need to do more than bivariate means comparison. And what that is, folks, that is basically when you look at two variables and you draw a conclusion. So you say, like, well, those Christians in the medieval period had slaves, therefore, and they were Christian. Therefore, we need to note that connection for some reason. Okay, but that doesn't mean that the reason they're still using the institution of slavery comes from Christianity. Okay. There are multiple variables that need to be taken into account. This is why when I go into these debates, I tend to cite multivariable analyses and literature reviews, because these studies do that kind of research. They're going to separate things out like age, education level, religion, as well as race and other factors to see if there's still going to be a link between like religiosity and the variable at play, like depression or volunteering, that kind of stuff. So that's why I cite those multivariable analyses, because nowhere do I say everything in a secular society you can blame on secularism, just like everything in Islamic society you can't blame on Islam. Likewise, the same for Christian societies and Christianity. To actually look at whether that which is better for humanity, Christianity or secularism, you need to look at studies that look at things that come out of Christianity. It'd be ridiculous for me to say something like, well, Christianity produces more, I don't know, bread. There we go. Because in America, we have a lot of bread. We have a lot of food. Therefore, that's Christianity's result. Well, no, we know for trans fats. Yeah. Well, no, we know that we have the bread basket of the world. We have the Great Plains. That's where the bread is being produced from. Okay. I cannot necessarily say Christianity just produces bread. Because there are other variables that would need to be considered in a multivariable analysis like that. So this is why in my debate, I focused on specific things that I knew we could tie to Christian religiosity, which we're going to get into because he's going to try to go through that. So anything you want to add before I move on?
Nope. I'm just waiting.
Just waiting. All right. Let me move up to the next timestamps I got here.
Mike might say the colonizers did not represent Christian values because they were not truly religious, and that the real Christians were the ones helping indigenous peoples. That move is the no true Scotsman fallacy, which brings us back to the question from the start. Who decides what counts as Christian values and what counts as a deviation? Disliking the brutality does not let you declare the brutal actors non-Christian.
Than,
I'm having McClellan flashbacks.
Please explain what the no true Scotsman fallacy is and why atheists overuse it and abuse it.
Yes, a no true Scotsman fallacy is when you make arbitrary rules to define somebody in a particular group. And
keyword is arbitrary.
Yep.
And if you don't believe me, let's just go to professional philosophers here. Form of defense that can be pushed as a result of an ill-thought-through generalization is the no true Scotsman's fallacy. The desperation of such a maneuver is pretty clear, but in technical terms, the arguer has reestablished the validity of an argument by arbitrarily changing the definition of what he's arguing about. So I wrote that out of the book I have. Anthony Flew also points out that, again, it's an arbitrary redefinition. Arbitrary. Atheists abuse the no true Scotsman fallacy like it's going out of style. Like they just think that anytime you say that's not a real Christian, they can invoke the no true Scotsman fallacy. That's not how it works. You need to show that we are saying they're not a Christian based on an arbitrary maneuver. For example, if I were to say all true Christians hear the organ on Sunday morning, you could easily say, well, I know plenty of churches that don't have an organ. Well, then I would say, well, no real or no true Christian church lacks an organ. That's an arbitrary aspect. If someone is running around murdering people, that's not an arbitrary redefinition. They are violating the very commandments of the Bible. Like you could very easily make that case.
This also applies not just to like somebody identifying as a Christian or not, but also the motivation being Christian or not, right? Mm-hmm. So if somebody's arguing from Scripture, you might have a case that their motivation might be somewhat like Christian, and we can try to dig into that. But if somebody's not arguing from Scripture, and instead they're, again, for sake of example, going to Aristotle for their motivation, then it's not a no true Scotsman fallacy to say that their motivation was not Christian.
Yeah, exactly. And also, again, this is important because the New Testament says you will know them by their fruits. Jesus said, that, paraphrasing, they will know that you are my followers by how you love one another. So we can definitely call out people who are actively going against the teachings of Jesus, and if they're called out and they remain in those actions, then yes, we can say they are not truly Christian. That's not an arbitrary distinction. That's a meaningful distinction because they are violating the commands of Jesus. Now, I'm not saying anytime someone sins, they're not a true Christian. I'm talking about people that are committing, like mortal sins, and they are unrepentant even after they've been informed. So, for example, I could cite, for example, Charlemagne. Charlemagne was going around forcing many of the Germans to convert to Christianity. Alcuin called him out and said, you can't do that. And what did Charlemagne do? He stopped. So you see the difference there.
Yep.
So important to keep in mind. Let's get to some super chats really fast here. Oh, real quick. I did highlight the guy we're reviewing was in the comments section. And so I grabbed a couple and I wanted to respond to them quickly. He said this. Okay. He's talking about the birth rate issue. He said this one. He said, oh, come on. This is one major attacking point you raised to secular humanism. Now you're backing off and saying secular humanists could come up with good ways to fix low birth rates. You know what, bro? Even if you do make part 2 and 3, I'm probably not going to watch because you obviously can't hear well. This is such a are you immune to steel manning a response? That's not what I'm doing. Okay. I did not back off. But my point is, if you do come up with ways to fix it, Than said it, we will update our models. We will update our theories. Your point was
sorry.
I know.
The point was never secular humanism cannot account for the birth rates. It was never, it is impossible. This modal language of saying they could come up with it, it means nothing. Like, okay, fine. Guess what? Then all of a sudden it's a probative point to say that Christians, by the way, can come up with even more solutions to make society even more better, right? Well, then if I say that, you're going to go, yeah, but it hasn't happened yet. And I'm going to go, cool. Exactly. That's the point.
Exactly. And again, if the way you come up with it is spending hundreds of millions of dollars, you're proving our point that Christianity is more optimal because we can have societies without wasting money on trying to fix birth rates. So again, bro, you actually have to listen to what we're saying. I get English is not your first language, so maybe this is just going to get lost in translation. But if you're going to respond to us, you have to try to steelman. You are not steelmanning our position. You are straw manning. This comment shows that what you're going to argue is, I can only suspect, is going to be absurd nonsense. So I may not even watch parts 2 and 3 based on this. If you can't get this right, what's the point? But he said he's going to stop watching and he'll come back later. So want to get that in there for him in hopes he will actually try to steelman the position, because we're going to get into some other points he makes later where he definitely doesn't. Have you read the latest edition of the Oxford Handbook of Religion and Health? It came out last year and could really help your research. No, but I will. Thanks. I'll check that out.
I actually have it.
Send me the PDF.
Yeah, I'll get you the PDF.
Cool. I got 2 questions. IP was curious how you understand evolution from an idealist perspective. Also, doesn't theism necessitate some form of idealism? If God is spirit, then all comes from that. I don't think necessarily. I just think it's just the most logical conclusion.
It's logically
to that. From an idealist. Oh, so I have a video. Check out the video I did, Was Evolution Inevitable? I explained that in there at the end of that video, how I understand evolution from an idealist perspective. That'll answer it better than I could right now, because I don't have that fresh in my head right now. What's your view of European colonialism? Good and bad. I mean, there are good and bad results of it. The missionaries that Europe sent out, mostly good though, as the studies I've cited have shown. Notice many arguments for the best future are based on the past that doesn't exist. They don't really use reality as it exists, but idealistic human behavior. Based on yeah, it's true. Yeah, we're gonna see some of that.
wait, help me understand the comment, because
arguments for the best future are based on a past that doesn't exist, is what they sometimes will say. Maybe in another reality we would have ended slavery a different way. They'll do that kind of nonsense.
Gotcha.
IP, you consider doing a vid on the day? And Leviticus. Yeah, the sons of Aaron. I did check out my video. Are there 2 creation accounts? I talked about them in there a little bit, but maybe you mean more of a theological aspect, so I have to look into that. One more, and I'll get back into this. I had a discussion with a Muslim today, and he actually used Song of Solomon 5:16. I was dumbfounded because I had to explain what Song of Solomon was about. Yep, that happens.
Show him the verse in the diss track that I made. Muhammad in the Song
Exactly.
of Solomon. Boy, you made your prophet of fruit.
Based. All right, let's play this next section.
Yes, many missionaries objected to what settlers were doing. That does not mean the kind and altruistic ones are the only real Christians, while the rest somehow do not count.
Never said that, bro. Again, are you immune to steel manning? I bet part 2 and 3 are going to be just like this. Like, the point is, what is the overall effect of missionary activity? And the countless studies I've cited have said that they are good results. It's a net positive gain.
Remember Mike's own definition? A Christian society is one where most people identify as Christian. By that standard, the vast majority of settlers qualified. He cannot shrink the category only when it hurts his case.
All right, I can play that game. Anytime you have a non-religious society, I'm just going to blame all the bad stuff on secularism. This is one of the points I made to Dan Barker in the debate. Okay, well then I'll just blame I'll blame the USSR and communism, all that on secular humanism. Fair? Can I do that? Again, no one is saying, bro, that everything in a Christian society is perfect, good, and wholesome. We are comparing and contrasting, which is better. For you to just say, oh, there are some things bad that come out of Christian societies, we agree. Doesn't change the argument. But again, I'm the bad researcher, guys.
Yeah.
Pretty wild stuff. Why did I close that out? Anyway, let's get back into this.
You're just so triggered.
Some Christians say the world benefited from Western science and technology. Fair enough. But those benefits could have spread through trade, cultural exchange, and diplomacy without crushing native cultures. Think about how food culture travels. I live in Canada, and when my family goes out for dinner, I sometimes see white diners using chopsticks. Then I look over, and my kids are happily using forks. It feels a little surreal in a nice way. Our lives get richer when we share cultures. But I digress.
Yeah.
Look at the residential schools in Canada and boarding schools in the US. They were designed to erase indigenous identity. Mike says freedom is a Christian value, yet he treats the forced remaking of indigenous cultures as acceptable because it brought education and tech. But does that
was never my argument. Like, this is so weird. This was never my argument. Like, what are you responding to?
This is also just like textbook. I wish you'd cite a study or some sort of scholar here, right? And how he's interpreting a lot of this, right? Because like this is, I don't even know if he's doing this, right? But like if I'm going to be really steel manning him, right? Like I wish he would do us. He might be working off of I forget the scholar's name off the top of my head who wrote a book called Orientalism, right? And it's kind of like the fundamental like piece of literature that works out that like a lot of colonial critical theory works off of, right? And that's kind of that has to be in the backdrop here. And if anybody ever researches this stuff, you'll notice a really weird difference whenever you look up like keyword search in academic journals, colonialism, you'll always find this kind of stuff. And you have to like actually know how to keyword search to find unbiased, like and more neutral approaches to these things. So keyword search the indigenization of religion when it comes to these things, and you'll notice something really interesting. I'll just leave it there.
Yeah, I mean, again, not my argument. Has nothing to do with the debate.
Does that really justify the coercion?
Without Christianity, the world would not be as educated and advanced as it is now.
Tip 2 for viewers. Correlation is not causation.
Duh, never did that.
People often see two things move together and then assume one caused the other. That is a mistake. If two trends line up, it might be coincidence. It might be a third factor driving both, or there might be a causal link that still needs proof. Until we have evidence for causation, we should not claim it. When most people in the West were Christian, it feels natural to give Christianity credit for Western progress. But we do not know what would have happened if secular humanism had been the majority view back then.
Yep, coulda, shoulda, woulda. Like, what does this even have to do with anything?
Well, I think we can make some inferences. Should we look at like, you know, what Voltaire and Hume?
There you go. It's a good point.
I'll give you a hint. It's not good.
Yeah, they were A-okay with enslaving the Africans, despite the fact that a lot of
Scientific
the Christians,
racism, all
yeah,
sorts of stuff.
see my video how Christianity ended slavery. I mean, Robert Fogel notes that they tried a secular argument, or not maybe secular is not the right word, but like a humanistic argument divorced from religion to end slavery, and it just simply didn't work. The movement to end slavery in America was in the 1800s was motivated by religiosity. That's not even controversial among historians today. And this is just appealing to the unknown. This is appealing to just random possibilities. That doesn't change the history of what actually happened. It is still Christianity that made a lot of this progress, that gave us principles that gave rise to science, that gave us principles and ethics that ended slavery, gave value to children, led to human rights. All of these very, very important things. But of course, here's the most important point. We're a third of this way into this video, and we still haven't seen any evidence of why secularism is better.
He hasn't cited a study yet.
Yeah. I cited a bunch of research to avoid the accusation of correlation is not causation. That was the point of me citing all those papers. Because if I didn't come with the papers, Than, what would they have said? You've got no evidence for your case. But if I do come with the papers, what's the complaint? That's too much research. Why are you gish galloping? We don't have time to go through all that.
You're misrepresenting the research.
Yes. Absolutely. Never actually shown that, and not shown in this video either. Anyway, let's continue.
Secular humanism, I mean the view that humans should seek what...
Hold up back. He's defining secular humanism finally.
Right.
This is important.
Before we go on, by secular humanism, I mean the view that humans should seek what benefits human society, not what pleases a deity. It values reason and critical thinking over faith. It grounds morality in what helps people flourish, not in divine commands. You can be religious and still be a secular humanist in practice. It simply means you do not make your daily decisions based on ancient texts or religious dogma. Do I think
this is not a social model that you can actually test? No.
He just basically defined, hey, I'm going to define secular humanism. Anything that's good, we get credit for. That's secular humanism, baby. When you use rationality, you're being a secular humanism. When you do good things, you're being a secular humanist. So this is the exact same nonsense we got from Christopher Hitchens in his stupid, god-awful book, God is Not Great. Anyone who cites that has no idea what they're talking about. Where he just he just real quick, he made Martin Luther King a secularist or like non-religious, and he made Stalin religious. Anything good is us, secular humanists or atheists or whatever you want to use. Anything bad, not us.
Mike, I want to know, do you know a sociologist out there that would think that that definition of secular humanism would actually be able to like isolate people that believe something in a particular way that's actually going to make valuable predictions that sets them apart from Christians? Actually, no. In his definition, actually, he even says that you could be a Christian and a secular humanist in function or whatever. And so anyway, so there's not actually a way to demarcate between the secular humanist and the Christian in his mind. Then
this is something I predicted a while ago, that when we start showing all the data showing how beneficial Christianity is, they're just going to define things into absurdity, into the unknown, to where nothing is testable now. For years, we heard this nonsensical claim from new atheists: religion bad, we're good, we need to get rid of religion. Now, when we start pointing out religion is good, they're going to start doing what this guy is doing. Oh, well, can we really define these terms? Can we really say Christianity gave these good benefits? And secular humanism really is just anything good that happens. It's rationality. It's doing good things. It's like, great. So his view is he was complaining in the beginning, wasn't he, that can we really define Christianity in a testable way?
Yeah.
Now he's guilty of his own criticism, because he's defined secular humanism in a completely absurd way that's completely untestable, that he just gets to take credit for anything good that happens, that would not show up in any sort of sociological model. This is not good research. This is creating an unfalsifiable view at this point. How am I supposed to take this stuff seriously? Like, honestly, am I going to even, I don't even know if I'm going to watch parts 2 and 3. It's like, I gave this guy a chance. Did he have good criticism? So far, no.
When it comes out, we'll see what my schedule's looking like.
I might even, I mean, if you send me the video, I'm probably just going to ignore it. At this point, the more I go through this video, like the second time we're going through it, I'm like, this is wow. Actually, it's like, I went through a little bit of it and then I went through it. So it's kind of like 2.5 times, whatever. Anyway, I digress. Let's get back into this powerful response.
I think secular humanism is better than Christianity at building an optimal society. My short answer is yes.
I'm done.
Wait, I want to hear why. I want to hear the why. I want to hear the evidence.
Hey, Fan, quick question. Do you think if we just were super moral and rational, we build a really good society?
Wait.
Yeah, yes, we would, obviously. So therefore, secular humanism is better because I define secular humanism in a way where it's just always the good stuff that happens. That's obviously going to build a better society, right? Yeah, go back.
Man, I'm just like, look, I'm thinking back to the beginning of the video. I don't know if you played this part of his video, because he said, like, I'm a psychologist. I have a master's in divinity and I have a master's in psychology. Therefore, I think I have like really valuable things to add in. And how far are we in, man? Like,
yeah, like almost halfway. But I mean, like, of course that definition of a ideology would be good for society. How do you know you can do that without Christianity and have a non-religious secular society? That we're not talking about. He's kind of he's getting into this a little bit. It probably will come up in the later parts, but doing armchair sociology. I'm going to define secular humanism in a completely untestable and unfalsifiable way where we get to have credit for all the good things. And then I'll just say, look at all the good stuff that happens. That's obviously secular humanism, guys. See, it's so much better than Christianity. But I mean, like, he's defined secular humanism in an absurd way where apparently Christians can be secular humanists.
Yeah, like, I'm just, how are you actually measuring and testing this? I want to see this, please.
Guys, Christianity is when you love your neighbor and you never sin and you're always rational and you just do good things. Therefore, anytime good things happen, that's just Christianity's result. I don't care if a Muslim is doing good stuff. That's because he's been influenced by the gospel somehow. And that's, if I made that argument, I'd be laughed at. How is it that atheists do this kind of crap with their own ideologies and no one calls them out on their side?
Is this guy an atheist?
I believe so.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but let's continue.
With a few caveats that I will explain later. For now, let's focus on why Mike's specific arguments do not establish his claim.
Secularists have not gone out and done this, and there is nothing in anything we could call secular doctrine that compels them to spread their worldview and educate people in the process.
That is a very unfair claim. Secular humanists do not need a creed to feel compelled before they help others. Plenty of people who hold secular values build schools, fund research, create vaccines, fight poverty, and improve public health. They just do not grab a megaphone and say, I'm doing this for secular humanism. Saying secularists have not gone out and done this, mistake quiet work for no work. Mike's framing also reveals something about his own standard. He treats indoctrination as a feature. Christian teaching in this view pushes you to spread the worldview while you help. Yes, some Christians give without the strings attached. I am not denying that. I am responding to Mike's specific claim that spreading the Christian worldview is a positive in itself.
This is what I mean when I say this guy is immune to steelmanning a position. That is not at all what I said.
What did I just hear?
Okay, what I said in context, and without Christianity, the world would not be as educated and advanced as it is now. Secularists did not go out and do this, and there's nothing in anything we could call secular doctrine that compels people to spread their worldview and educate people in the process. Christianity has Christ commanding the Great Commission, which makes it our duty to make the world a better place. That's what I said. Nowhere did I say people need to be indoctrinated to do good things. Nowhere did I say secularists cannot do good work. My point is about what is going to be more motivating to actually cause people to go out and make the world a better place. I clearly said in my opening statement that, yeah, secularists give money to charity and they do good works, but not on the level Christians do. Why is that? Because we have Christianity as an underlying motivating factor, which causes them to want to go out and do good works on a higher level. Not saying secularists don't ever do that. Is this guy immune to steel manning?
You said it yourself. Like you literally did say in the debate that secularists do these things. It's just that Christians do it more.
Yeah.
So I just, where is the disagreement actually at this point still?
Exactly. He didn't respond to anything I said. He needs to actually do a better job of listening and trying to steel man, trying to actually be charitable in what someone is saying. He doesn't do that throughout this video at all. And guys, it's going to get worse. There's even worse arguments he's going to make. Anyway, I'm going to get to some super chats. Oh, it's gonna. Dr. Omar says, hi, Mike. Than, I like you mentioning importance of multivariable analyses. Can I comment on that? You're not taking call-ins. We're not taking call-ins today. That's not what this is. Come back next Thursday for a call-in show. Thank you. Communist Russia and the genocide that happened there was atheist fault. If you say otherwise, that's the no true Scotsman fallacy. You know what? Yep. Using this guy's logic. Yeah, exactly. Same thing. Exactly.
I'm just laughing at the picture.
Thank you for the very generous $50 super chat. This is for Than to put his song on Spotify so I can work out to it. Than, you must.
Thank you for the $50 super chat. Mike, you're slipping. Put Than's thong.
Oh, did I say that? Sorry, I was going fast.
Can we put that song on Spotify?
I think you can. I don't know. I don't use Spotify.
Okay.
So someone
let me, before we do that, let me just fix it up a little bit. There's places that I'd like to fix. That's all.
Okay. Let's continue on.
Christianity has Christ commanding the Great Commission, which makes it our duty to make the world a better place.
Actually, the Great Commission is about making disciples, not about improving living standards or expanding education. God. Since Mike did not quote it, let's read it. Go.
Okay. We don't need to hear him read it, but hey, Than, how do you make disciples?
You spread the gospel and you disciple them and help them be sanctified in the Spirit.
Oh, so you just can't convert them to Christianity. When you make a disciple, you have to do more, right?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
You mentor them, help them better themselves. Then you teach them how to do the same thing for other people.
If you were a
take
missionary,
care of them.
Let's say you were a missionary, you went to a hospital, you started preaching the gospel to all these sick people. Do you think it's gonna have a strong effect on them while they're fighting a disease?
Yeah.
Like you think? Yeah, absolutely. But they're not going to be able to become adequate disciples laying in bed, struggling with disease. Like making disciples has a spillover effect. It causes other things. You want them to be an important aspect of being a disciple is knowing the scriptures. Well, they got to be educated. An important aspect of being a disciple is they actually have to be spreading the gospel themselves. They can't do that if they're impoverished, starving, sick, suffering diseases. This is why all those studies I cited on missionary activity are important, because when they wanted to make disciples in Africa, India, China, the Americas, they went and they built hospitals in schools because they understand to actually do the Great Commission is going to be, those things are going to be required. I can't believe we have to point this out.
Yeah. Like the whole entire point is the kingdom of heaven is supposed to be on earth. How are you supposed to accomplish that without discipling and making the world a better place. The Great Commission is not just, I'm going to preach the message and that's it.
Exactly. I mean, like, come on, use some
You have a
common
master's in divinity. You should know this.
I know. Again, the important thing I said when I was on Tim Pool's podcast is, are we talking about Christianity or the effects of Christianity? In this debate, we're talking about the effects of Christianity. The Great Commission has led to more hospitals and schools and more education, more literacy, more prosperity, more democracy. Now, does the Great Commission say go out and make democracy? No, but that is an effect of the Great Commission, regardless. All right, let's move ahead to where he tries to address some of these studies.
Values, beliefs, and the importance of faith to the believer, as well as religious service attendance and private prayer, most often positively relates with giving to outgroup and secular organizations.
Notice the shift. Mike is no longer saying Christianity drives greater giving. He has to broaden it.
Oops, let me play that. My thing fell out.
To religiosity. That is because the paper he cites is about religiosity in general, not Christianity in particular. You can be religious in many traditions. The review does not single out Christianity as uniquely generous toward outgroups or secular causes, which leads to my tip 3. Pay close attention to what the study actually measures.
Hey, Than, is Christianity a religion?
Yes. By the way, I love how beginning of the video framing it as Mike is misrepresenting the scholarship and blah, 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 blah. But here he goes, hey, Mike said this thing that the research actually says, and he doesn't say something about it that it doesn't say. As if like maybe what you're doing is using the literature responsibly and not falsely attributing things to the literature. That's
good point. He kind of proved I'm not being irresponsible with the literature, the very thing he accused me of. So thanks, bro. I mean, like this again, the debate is not Christianity versus Islam, Christianity versus other religions. The debate is Christianity versus secularism. Bro, Christianity is a religion. It was brought up a ton in this study. We just go through this table here, Appendix A, Table A1. Christian. Let me see if I can zoom in so you can just see. Type of religion, Christianity, Christian, different types of Christian. Christianity, there's one just on Islam. Most of them are doing all, some are specific. As you can see, Christianity is frequently being studied throughout this paper. So, yeah, Christianity is a religion. From the research, does lead to more volunteering and charitable giving, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, like, what are you even doing? Like this is not a response to anything I said. I couldn't believe it when he said this. I was like, are you even trying at this point?
No, it so far it's just been nothing but whataboutisms and how can I make Mike look bad without actually digging into any literature or giving any like substance back.
Yeah, if you go through that study, you find out Christianity is probably the most studied, it looks like, from what I can tell. So, but also, there's this important point to keep out that in sociology, I remember asking a sociologist about this years ago. I said, how do I know when a study is done on religion if it's what the religions are? How do I know they're talking about Christians? And he said something very important. He said, if they're not focusing on Christians, they will tell you. Because most of the research in sociology of religion is Christian-centric. As they say in this article I found, in many past and present sociological studies, religion refers primarily to Christianity and more specifically to a narrow range of Christian forms practiced in the United States over the last few centuries. As sociologists turn to religious phenomena in other parts of the world, and as their work becomes more historically grounded, the limits of this Christocentrism becomes increasingly clear. Christian templates continue to strongly influence sociology in general and sociology of religion in particular. Because so much work in this field focuses on U.S.-based Christian groups, the disciplinary conceptual apparatus is permeated by Christian assumptions. So most of the research over the years, ladies and gentlemen, is focused on Christianity because those are the subjects most accessible to sociologists in their study. Now, lately, they have been branching out, but still, other studies, like I cited this in my video on Christianity is harmful, they note that a lot of the research focuses on Western nations, and Christianity is typically the religion that is the focus of this type of research. This was a study they did on Buddhists that was in this journal. And I cited this because when goes back to what that sociologist told me. It's like they did a study on Buddhists. What do? They put it in the title because they're doing something different. Most of the time when they're just doing religion, Christians do end up making up a majority of the subjects being studied. That just is a fact of the nature of sociology of religion as it has come out. So again, and this was paper I cited as well. Again, it's a very simple point. Christianity was studied. Specifically, they looked at religious service attendance and private prayer. That was used in there. I don't understand the point he's trying to make here. It doesn't at all show secularism is better. How does this show secularism is better?
I don't know.
Exactly.
I'm waiting. I'm just waiting.
We're waiting. We'll get it sometime. Yeah. Let me see here.
Maybe that's part of the reason why I was so more upset than I probably would have normally been when I watched this, because my expectations were high. I don't know why. I don't know why, but it was like a very maybe this is the one. It was not the one.
Nope, definitely not the one. Let's continue on.
By the data. Furthermore, the paper Mike cites is careful about its own limits. It says that while many studies find a positive link between religiosity and giving to secular or outgroup causes, some studies find no link or even a negative one. Their abstract puts it like this. Despite the dominant positive relationship between religion and giving to outgroup and secular organizations, there remains heterogeneity among the studies based on their location, how they define religion and secular giving, and the methods used.
Yeah.
Translation. Other factors are at play.
Yeah.
On the surface, it can look like Christian faith is doing all the work, but something else that social scientists call confounding variables.
Than, did I ever say Christianity is doing all the work, or is the only variable?
No.
Again, this guy is immune to steelmanning our position. This is just the whole video. That's the reason I cited the review, bro. Because as I've said in my videos, go watch my video, Is Christianity Harmful? Where I made this point. You could easily cherry pick studies to make a point. This is why I try to go to meta-analyses and literature reviews. Cite multiple studies on something, because there's always going to be studies that go against the general trend. That's the importance of going to reviews. That doesn't change the results of what this study is pointing out. That the overall, the general research is that religiosity, which includes Christianity, leads to more charitable giving and volunteering. I don't know what to do, man. Ridiculous.
May be driving both the faith major and the generosity major. That is why correlation is not causation. Reality is more complex than a simple yes or no.
Exactly.
So what exactly is a confounding variable? It is an unmeasured third factor that influences both the supposed cause and the supposed effect. Let me give you a classic example. As ice cream sales go up, sunburns go up. It will be silly to say ice cream causes sunburns. The truth is that hot weather increases both ice cream consumption and time in the sun. If you ignore temperature, you jump to the wrong conclusion. Apply that here. If you see a relationship between religiosity and giving to secular groups, it does not mean religiosity causes the giving. A third factor might boost both, which...
Great. What is that third factor? And how does that show that Christianity is not going to be a variable that does boost it, given the literature reviews on this? Like, possibility is not probability.
This literally just boils down to, again, find the data that actually undercuts the argument, and we will update the argument.
Oh, he thinks he did. Let's just get there.
Which can also explain why some studies do not find the relationship. in their context, the third factor is missing or weaker. If you remember only one thing from this video, let it be this. Interpreting social science is trickier than Mike makes it look.
Where did I ever do that? Like, again, he's accusing me of things I don't think I ever did. Like, he's obviously not familiar with my work.
When someone waves a paper to prove a point, start with two simple questions. First, is this correlation or causation?
Yes, please do that next time you debate me, atheist, because I will go through the literature reviews with you and explain why there's a positive association that can link the variable of Christian religiosity with the desirable outcome.
Second,
were you going to say something?
No,
does the study actually measure what you say it measures?
It does.
Most sweeping claims fail on one of those. We will cover more questions later, but these two will already take you far.
Another study looked at 53 nations and found that frequent churchgoers are more active in volunteer work and that a devout national context has an additional positive effect. So when a nation is religiously Christian, volunteer work is increased across the board.
The paper is solid, but it does not show what Mike wants.
Is that so?
Remember tip 3, check what the study actually measures. This one measures volunteering, which the authors define much more broadly than charity. They list 7 buckets. 1. Social welfare services for elderly, handicapped, or deprived people. 2. Religious or church organizations. 3. Education, arts, music, or cultural activities. 4. Labor unions. 5. Political parties or groups. 6. Conservation, environment, and animal rights groups. And 7. Professional associations. Now think about the debate claim. Mike is arguing that Christianity produces more optimal societies. But in this dataset, you can volunteer for a political campaign, a professional guild, or a church choir, and it still counts as volunteering.
Okay.
Those are not automatically indicators of societal flourishing.
Yes, they are. What are you talking about? Like, first of all, like, talk about cherry picking. Like, he's accusing us of that. No, you're cherry picking. You just picked some of the aspects of volunteering and said, well, this isn't evidence of optimal societies. Yes, it is. Guilds make society better. Labor unions have made the world better, especially when they first came out 100 years ago with correcting a lot of the abuses that were being done in industry at the time. But doesn't change the point because the whole umbrella of volunteering included multiple variables that do make the world a better place.
Yeah.
For you to just cherry pick the one and be like, well, that doesn't follow. That doesn't mean the results change from what I said. What is he even trying? Like,
he just listed off a bunch of things that are good for society and saying, well, it's not the one thing that Mike is mentioning. It's actually all these other things too. It's like, okay, you're making our case stronger.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it made our case stronger. Appreciate it, bro. Like, again, doesn't actually change anything. Like, it still shows that religiosity, which includes Christianity, does increase volunteering for many good organizations and ones this guy would consider bad. Still doesn't change the point.
Second, volunteering for religious organizations makes up about 46% of all volunteering in this study.
So,
if that is the case, it is not surprising that religious people show higher volunteer rates. Organized religion creates many built-in opportunities to volunteer. So a gap between religious and non-religious people is exactly what you would expect from the way the measure is constructed. Third, this is not uniquely Christian. The paper notes that people with non-Christian religious affiliations are about as engaged in general volunteer work as Protestants, while Catholics volunteer.
all right, I'm going to back this up.
One thing he said. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Do your thing. I'm gonna back up because I want to address his other point before we move on to this one.
This isn't verbatim, right? But so correct me if I'm saying this wrong. He said something akin to, yeah, religious institutions create more opportunities for volunteer work.
Sure did.
How is that not helping the case, bro?
I know he's not thinking. He's just angry that Dan Barker did bad in that debate. He's angry about the research, and he's just trying to think of something to say. Like, man. But again, yes, volunteering was often for religious organizations. That doesn't change the fact the study says that they also volunteer for secular organizations as well. Religious volunteering has a spillover effect. So that doesn't change the issue. Doesn't change the fact that they say if secularization is an ongoing process in rich post-industrial societies, we expect declining levels of volunteering due to composition and context effects. None of what he says changes these results as well. So, like, why is he even highlighting this stuff as if it's going to refute my case? It doesn't. Anyway, let's get back because I want to address this next point he brings up, which is equally as bad.
And non-religious people is exactly what you would expect from the way the measure is constructed. Third, this is not uniquely Christian.
So
the paper notes that people with non-Christian religious affiliations are about as engaged in general volunteer work as Protestants, while Catholics volunteer significantly less than either group. In other words, Christianity does not...
Whoa, bro, we got to back up because you didn't finish reading that quote on the page. Non-Christians are equally engaged in volunteer work as Protestants, whereas the non-religious have considerably low probability to volunteer. Now, he's going to address this, but it's not going to be adequate. But again, the debate is on secular humanism versus Christianity, which is clearly better in these results here. I know.
I don't actually understand what the move, like, I really want to understand what is happening in somebody's head when they go, yeah, but this isn't uniquely Christian that these benefits are from. Like, maybe it could be even from another religion or something, right? Well, fine. Then just don't be a secular humanist anymore.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. You see, guys, other religions do good as alongside Christianity. Haha, secularism is saved. What?
Words, Christianity does not stand out above other religions.
Well, I wasn't debating someone from another religion. I was debating a secular humanist. Why is this a point against me?
So the headline should not be Christian nations boost volunteering across the board. A more
Yes, it can be. That's still true, regardless if other religions do it or not.
accurate takeaway is higher religiosity and strong religious institutions tend to correlate with more reported volunteering, much of which is within religious organizations themselves. That does not prove that Christianity uniquely creates optimal societies.
Did I say, was the debate, does Christianity create uniquely optimal societies? No. Again, this guy is immune to steelmanning the position. The debate is which is better for humanity. This is a blatant straw man. If I was going to write up an example of a straw man, it would be this. I say Christianity is better for society than secular humanism. Bro comes in here and straw mans. Well, Christianity doesn't create uniquely optimal societies. Never the claim. This is a blatant straw man. And he uploaded this.
Yeah.
Incidentally, this 53-nation paper includes a result that cuts against Mike's thesis.
Does it now?
More prosperous countries tend to be more democratic, spend more on social security, and are less religious overall. If your picture of an optimal society includes higher GDP, stronger democracy, and better welfare, you should know those traits are negatively correlated with national religiosity. Mike does not touch this. We will come back to it in my second video.
I can't wait. But anyway, I thought he was just complaining a little while ago that correlation doesn't equal causation. Now it's okay to bring this kind of stuff up? Like 5 minutes ago, he complained you should not be citing stuff that's just correlation without showing any sort of causal evidence. Here he's doing that.
Yep. Yeah. Why? Oh, I am excited to hear this in part 2.
already bored.
Maybe he'll flip it around and there'll be some stuff.
But anyway, so again, I wanted to bring that up, but he already had it on the screen. But again, this is something I addressed in my video. Is Christianity harmful? I've addressed this a lot because, yeah, there is a correlation that's not causal. Researchers have known that as societies become more prosperous, they naturally become less religious. It's not that religiosity leads to, or it's not that losing religiosity leads to more prosperity. There's not been any sort of positive association found there. Instead, it's as nations become more prosperous, more people in those societies tend to think they don't need religion as well. So again, I addressed this in a lot more detail. I'm just briefly noting it here in my video. Is Christianity harmful? Because this is a common argument that's brought up. And the response is quite simply, yeah, there's a correlation there, but it's going in the reverse direction. It's not that losing religion makes you more prosperous as a nation or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So he needs to actually justify this as somehow working against the point I'm making. And again, one of the things that actually does help encourage prosperity, building better communities, volunteering time, lifting the poor out of poverty. You do that through donations and giving. And what does this paper say again? This paper says that as secularization increases, we're going to see less of that. So it's going to harm aspects of society that lead to prosperity. Now, before I get strawmanned again, I didn't say it's the only thing that leads to prosperity.
Yeah.
But you get the idea.
You keep getting rid of it.
Whatever. I'm going to do super chats right now. I called using past hypotheticals in Übermensch. I'm not sure what this means.
Why is that word?
Off topic, but have you guys read Martin Ackett's book, Sacred Misrepresentation? Good book on Islam. Appreciate it. Take a look at it. I've not read it. I disagree with your argument. There is no such thing as more optimal because optimal is superlative. Christianity is the optimal society.
Based?
Okay. I'll think about it. Hi, IP. Judging by some of your past videos, you believe most people will become Christian as prerequisite to the second coming. If the most of people and Christians go to hell. Matthew 7, 13, 14.
Do you want me to pull up Logos?
This is just the narrow gate and the wide gate, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
But yeah, you can pull up Logos if you want. We can put it in there. Why don't you do that? And I'm going to just get to the next super chat while you do that. Is Dia de los Muertos pagan or a bad celebration? Never really known too much about that holiday and had no impulses to celebrate. Just curious. It's not, there's no pagan origin. It just goes back to All Souls Day celebrations, basically. So it's comes out of the Christian tradition. It's been very secularized, no doubt. I don't participate in it. You don't have to. I definitely think the way it's being abused is not the historical origin of that celebration, but I don't think it's pagan. I don't think there's any evidence of that. Did you get Logos up? Where is it? Why is it not on my screen?
It's coming. It's coming.
Oh my gosh, it's taking forever.
I'm so sorry. Let me I know you're old, so I gotta zoom in.
Well, yeah, and no one can see that.
Yeah, I know. Hold on. Why isn't my Zoom working?
Because you see.
There we go. Is this enough, Mike?
Fine.
There you go. What was it? 7, 13, and 14?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, Matthew 7. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. There you go.
Yeah, enter through the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the road is easy. That leads to destruction, and there are many who take it. For the gate is narrow and the road is hard. That leads to life, and there are few who find it. Yeah, I don't think this is going to be a huge issue because, like, right now there are more Christians in the world that there has ever been. Like, are we going to now say, well, it's still the narrow path, even though it's the world's largest religion? I think Jesus is talking about the circumstances of his time in this. I don't think he's saying this isn't a thing in all times and all places. Like, would we say this verse still applies after he returns and the world is definitely going to be entirely Christian. Like, if you believe in a future tribulation, Antichrist, and you're going to believe in the millennial kingdom as an actual kingdom that will be 1,000 years after the Antichrist, would that verse apply there? No. So I think we need to take these in their historical context. That's all I would say. So, all right. Back to the video. We'll get to some more super chats in a bit here. So this is the other study he wants to address of mine.
Did you catch it? We are back to religiosity again. Not
Okay, so let me just put the quote back up there. So again, I cited another paper. Okay, once again, bro, Christianity is a religion that was included in this investigation. And it's one of many studies. One on one. This is one.
I just want to know if he read any of these papers, man.
Well, he did read this one. I'll give him that. But unfortunately, he doesn't help his case, even though he thinks it does.
More likely to help strangers.
Did you catch it? We are back to religiosity again, not Christianity.
So
that distinction matters. If a study is US only, you might try to use religiosity as a rough proxy for Christian identity. But this study covers 126 countries. You cannot equate religiosity with Christianity in a global data set. And
again,
did Mike do that though?
No. But again, we're comparing. The debate is on which is better, secular humanism or Christianity. Christianity was included in that, as he's about to prove.
if the reply is, well, missionaries raised religiosity in those countries, that still does not work.
Man, that's ridiculous. Ridiculous.
So,
many places are shaped.
Were you going to say something?
I just, dude, where's the evidence that secular humanism is better?
I know. Exactly. That's in my notes. Like, none of this actually addresses the point.
This is, dude, this is like playing Roller Coaster Tycoon and really sucking at it. And so you build a roller coaster and it doesn't actually like stop at a normal stopping point. You actually have the roller coaster like dropping off on your opponent's like theme park. So that way people die in the other theme park and you go, well, that's really bad over there, but like there's no reason to like have good ratings on my end. Like, I don't know if that analogy lands, but bro, just give us reasons for thinking secular humanism is good.
Yeah, he's basically just arguing, yeah, well, other religions are also good alongside Christianity. Okay. Thanks for helping us make our point.
Yes.
Shaped by non-Christian religions, both historically and today. The authors of this paper actually report that the groups most likely to help strangers are, in order, Jews, Muslims, Orthodox Christians, other religions, Buddhists, Protestants, and Catholics. In other words, among religious people, Protestants and Catholics are at the bottom of this particular helping strangers measure. If you use this result to crown a winner, you would end up saying Judaism and Islam outperform Christianity on this altruism metric. I do not think Mike will want that conclusion.
That's right, secular atheists, secular humanists. When you're debating me on which is better for humanity, be like, well, Judaism is better. Now what? Now what are you going to do? Again, he lost the plot. He forgot what the debate was actually about. Which is better? And I cite a plethora of research on purpose because it's not just one study that's important. You have to look at multiple studies. Remember, the one he brought up earlier showed that what was it, Protestants, or I forget the exact term in the study, but he looked at Catholics, non-Christian religions, and then another category. They were all pretty much around the same. Like, so again, different results are going to find different studies will find different results, but they're all still finding that generally Christianity does increase volunteerism as well as giving to charitable groups. Even though sometimes you'll find some studies that will show Jews do it better. You'll find some studies that show Catholics do better than Protestants. You'll find some studies that show Protestants do better than Catholics. That's why you need to cite a plethora of research like I did. If I was debating like a Jew could use that study on me. And I would cite other research to go, well, it's actually a lot more complicated. Here, look at this, and this.
Yeah.
How does any of this show secularism is better?
Because secularism is defined as all the good things, Mike.
All the good things. Yeah.
It's just logically necessary.
It's ridiculous. The ridiculous stuff we're dealing with.
One more clarity point. Secular humanist does not equal non-religious.
Okay.
Many people who mark no religion have never heard of secular humanism and may hold superstitions or vague beliefs. Secular humanism is a positive program that centers human welfare. It uses reason, evidence, and secular ethics to solve human problems and does not base day-to-day decisions on dogma or appeals to the supernatural. That is a subset of the non-religious category. So even if a study finds that non-religious people help strangers less often in some context, that is not an indictment of secular humanism as a philosophy.
So how do you test if secular humanism is good for society? How?
Well, obviously, Thane, you just look at all the good stuff that's happening. Well, that's obviously the result of secularism, because secularism is about promoting welfare and reason and science. And when you see those things, that's secular humanism. Okay, they get to win on everything. The funny thing is, what he said is he just dogmatically asserted it, but he said in there they're against dogma. But how does he know that's what secular humanism? That's a dogma he has. It's an ironic argument he's made. But I mean, like, again, you're right. He made secular humanism completely untestable, completely undefinable. How you could look in the sense of how you could look at it in society and be like, that's secular humanism operating in that culture. We can compare it to Christianity over here. No, because he said earlier, a Christian could be a secular humanist. So it's just completely undefined, untestable, unfalsifiable. And by the way, secular humanists would fall into the no religion category. I don't know of any secular humanists that are running around going, yes, I would qualify myself as a Protestant. Like, they're going to take the no religion category.
Yeah. Even the whole, like, wait, what did he say exactly? He said something like, yeah, and you have plenty of, like, non-religious people that have never heard of the phrase, like, secular humanism or something like that. And it's like, okay, good job. You've just, like, given us another reason for thinking that it's not an optimal model. Because now you just have defined your group in such a way that first of all, you can't test, but also you're telling me the people that should, like, actually technically be part of your group have never even heard of the title or the name or the set of values of your group. That how does that promote social cohesion and all this other stuff now? It doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just
exactly. All right, let's get to some more super chats, then we'll play a couple more segments of the video, and then I'm gonna wrap up. I disagree with. Oh wait, we already did this one. Here we go. Super serious question for Than. That's obviously related to the stream topic. How much did you bench when you were being waterboarded with whiskey? What?
I want to know how you know about this.
Wait, this happened?
Yes. I don't remember the context to why this happened. It was in college, and me and some friends were just messing around, and then we came up with this idea to have me bench press while I was being waterboarded with whiskey.
I'm never sending my kids to college. This is ridiculous. It sounds horrible.
I don't remember how much I had on the bar for this. It was like 225 at least.
Ugh. Dude needs to read Matthew 25:31-46, the Great Commission. While critical isn't the only thing Jesus said. That's true. Yep. He also said we need to feed his sheep and take care of the poor and clothe the naked and all that stuff as well. Good point. Can you do a video on hell? I keep hearing hell developed over time and evolved from other religions, since hell is in the Old Testament.
Oh,
since hell in the Old Testament doesn't mean the same as the New Testament.
Yeah. You're an annihilationist too, right, Mike?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, kind of. Okay. Well, yeah. we can rap about that and put together a video.
Yeah, and I don't think there's evolution in terms of the idea. There's evolution in terms of what is revealed. So they know that there's an underworld in the Old Testament, and they go there, and then they start to get hints of that there's going to be a resurrection. And then in the New Testament, you also have now all that are in Christ get to go be with him prior to the resurrection happening. So there's revealed aspects of the afterlife in terms of how the eschatology unfolds. Do you think the story of Jesus as the adulterous woman is canon or added on later? Well, I think basically it was added on later. It wasn't original to John.
Here's something I always like to say, though. Added on later does not mean not rooted in like an authentic tradition or like that this just didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's an important part.
I debated Mr. I'm not going to butcher his name in the comments of Michael Lacona's video. He whined so hard that I didn't just accept his views. He's a terrible straw man debater. Yeah, we're learning that. He can't represent anyone.
Out in the comments.
What?
I'm just curious to know what they were debating in the comments.
Yeah.
Very curious to see if how he handles like New Testament stuff.
Oh, I don't even want to know. I mean, he can't even represent my points here accurately. It's going to be bad.
Mm-hmm.
Did some of my subscriptions and want to donate to y'all. What site takes the smallest percentage so y'all get the most of the subscription? Donate through the website for sure. That would be best. We really appreciate that. The link is just below. inspiringphilosophy.com/give.
That's in the description. I'll put it also in the chat just for.
Yeah. So yeah, it's right here. Just inspiringphilosophy.com/give. Best way to donate. You can set up a monthly donation, which is what we need more of right now. Please consider doing that so that we can be fully funded because we still are not. So, I gotta spray my cat. They're fighting. Anyway, did you hear my cat screaming or was that just me?
I'm just hearing the cats in the background.
They're so freaking noisy, I swear. Oh, it's awful. And that noisy one was the one that showed up and just decided to live here. I think he'd be a little more appreciative.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I
So let's
think the same thing about my kids sometimes. They just showed up one day.
And this in turn has led to more economic progress, medical care, freedom, etc., many other positive benefits. If nations secularize, this will decrease, which I think we all could agree is not a good thing.
Earlier, I noted that one of Mike's own sources reports a negative association between national religiosity and things like economic progress.
No, I would say it's a correlation, which you said, and you were very clear. Correlation does not equal causation. So you cannot go back on your words.
Welfare spending and democracy. Religiosity is not the same as Christianity. I get that. But Mike still has not shown evidence that Christianity specifically drives democracy, medical advances, and everything else on his list.
Then you should have gone through the studies I listed on missionary activity. Seriously, go watch my video, Does Christianity, or How Christianity Changed the World? Let's go to one. Here's one I cited in there. Daniel Treisman's paper. Protestantism plays a role in monitoring and in denouncing state officials. It's associated with lower levels of corruption, and it helps to pronounce distinction between church and state. Look at Rolla to Salem's research. Okay? More voice and accountability, political stability, citizen empowerment, civic society pluralism. There's lots of ways it helps in advanced democracy. I cited more research in my opening statement on this by decreasing levels of authoritarianism. Did I not? Pretty sure I did. Yeah. Here. So he did another great quote there. But anyway, let's go down. These papers, this research. Don't like authoritarianism. Christianity helps reduce that. See my video. See also the video I did. This one, How Christianity Created Human Rights. Talk about it there as well. So yeah, I have given research for that. The fact that I didn't have time in a 15-minute opening statement to go into more details is just the nature of the beast.
Some of those might correlate with Christian populations, but correlation does not prove causation.
Yeah.
And we have not dealt with the fact that Christianity is not one thing. Different Christian traditions teach different moral priorities.
Well, by his own logic, secularism is nothing. I mean, because the way he defined it is just absurd. So I don't know what you're
Christianity
complaining
is
about.
not one thing, but secular humanism is this one thing, and everybody can be part of this one thing.
And it's just everything that's good that happens.
Yeah.
And sometimes pull in the opposite directions. Whether you are a Christian or not, I hope we can agree that one marker of an optimal society is that science thrives in that society. Now look at real life. In the modern world, a large share of organized resistance to evolutionary biology comes from religious communities, especially Christian ones. Young Earth creationism is overwhelmingly Christian. If Christianity uniquely fosters science, why do we see so much Christian opposition to a core scientific field? If you believe in creationism, you might say that evolution should not be part of science. But Mike Jones believes in theistic evolution, so you might want to take your issue to him.
Yeah, so I've addressed that in more detail. That was not part of the debate. I addressed that in my video, Is Christianity Anti-Science? And the origins of young Earth creationism. We can observe the origins of young Earth creationism came from Seventh-day Adventism, as well as, and specifically the goopy prophecies of Ellen G. White, and a backlash against a lot of secularism. And if you want more, check out the last chapter of the book of Popes and Unicorns by David Hutchings and James Ungariano, where they point out the reason why there's so many Christians today that are against science is not because of something inherent in Christianity. It's because there's been an artificial war created by secular atheists over the past 150 years or so. They started pushing the conflict thesis, saying that, yeah, religion and specifically Christianity is at war with science, is at war with science. So they started pushing this narrative. And so a lot of Christians in turn said, okay, fine. If you're at war with us, you're at war with us. So they manufactured an artificial war. And you can see that in the book of Popes and Unicorns. But no, there's no evidence that Christianity is inherently anti-scientific. Check out my video, Is Christianity Anti-Science? And the video I just released, How Christianity Created Science, as well as the video on the young Earth creation origins. I mean, like, so yeah, that's easily addressable.
Trying to find something too. Yeah, I lost it. Darn it. If I find it, I'll put in a comment or something. You would actually be really surprised too. There's a lot of research showing that the young Earth creationism has been very isolated to certain generations of Christians, and that newer generations of Christians are actually like starting to actually lead the charge in scientific advancements in evolutionary biology. I have to find the study, but just something to think about too.
Yeah. I mean, but yeah, I talked about this in, here, I'll just put up the video. This one here. I talk about it there. I go over a lot of research in this video that covers that. That no, there's nothing. And we've actually found evidence of anti-Christian bias in academia, which supports what Ungariano and Hutchings say in the last chapter of Popes and Unicorns. That, yeah, there is a artificial war between religion and science, but a lot of it is coming from aggressive aspects on the atheistic side in academia. Excuse me. There is biases against Christians, and documented research does show that. Anything else you want to address in this? Because I don't really care to watch anymore.
No, there just wasn't any. I'm really disappointed. My disappointment is immeasurable, and I'm sad, and I'm going to go eat my feelings.
But I mean, like, he claimed I misrepresented research, didn't actually show that, just straw man my position.
Showed
I'm not going to take
you actually representing it correctly.
Mm-hmm. Set up a debate with this guy. I need a good laugh. No, I don't. I'm probably not going to watch parts 2 and 3. Like, he had his chance. If he can't even steel man my position, I'm not going to watch him in part 2 and 3 attack an endless straw man over and over and over again and think he won something, because that's all it's going to be. So don't even send me the video, Discord. I'm not going to watch it, because there's not, unless if you find anything in there, Tham, that is worth responding to, I'm not going to care, because he doesn't understand the argument.
I'll look when it does come out.
I want to get back to doing more stuff on Islam, not this crap. But yeah, he had a chance. All right, critique. I would love to hear the critique. Don't ever say we don't listen to our criticism of us. We do that as much as we can, but I'm not going to care anymore. Because this entire 30-minute video was an endless straw man. Nowhere did he show any way secularism is better. He just kept misrepresenting my position. And at the end of his day, his only argument was, yeah, well, this one paper found Judaism is better. What are you even doing, man?
Judaism is actually a subsect of secular humanism, Mike.
That's you know true. That? It's true. I know. And he's already defined secular humanism in a completely untestable way. There's no debate to be had.
Yeah.
Because he just defined it in an absurd way that you could never compare and contrast with. So the debate I was having was a sociological debate where you can actually study societies that have decreased in religiosity and favor more secular values. His view of secularism is absurd in that sense. Muzzy says Quran was revealed as guidance for mankind. That's one of the verses I use to show that, well, what's the guidance for mankind? Notice it's not just guidance for Christians of a certain time. If it's guidance for all mankind, when you read Surah 568, that should be guidance for all Christians, shouldn't it be? And what does it say? It tells us to observe our scriptures. We need to observe what has been revealed to us from our Lord. And if it's guidance for all mankind, Surah 1094 says that if you're in doubts about Muhammad's revelations, you should go check the prior scriptures. That should be guidance for all mankind too. And the prior scriptures are the authority on if Muhammad's revelations are true or not. So yeah, that's one of the verses I use, man. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Did you like, the problem of,
Nagasawa, Yujin Nagasawa's problem of evil for atheists. I did like it.
I've not looked at that. I'll have to look at that.
Really? Here's the basic idea. If you're going to be an atheist, and if you're going to be an atheist, you can't be an optimist. That's the long version put short. I can send you a PDF of it. Eugen's probably, I can text Eugen, but he'd be fine just having me give you the free version.
Mm-hmm. IP, do you think humans will be merged with machines before Jesus returns? I certainly hope not. I don't think so, though. I think
what do you mean by merge? Like, I'd be down with having like biomechanical arms that like have super strength, if that's what you mean. Like, let's do it.
Mm-hmm. Sounds pretty crazy, if you ask me.
I want to be able to I want to be able to do cool stuff.
I don't know if I want that. I like just being in my own body, I guess. Let's see here. Can you debate David Wood? Can you get David Wood to leave Zionism in AP? No. David Wood does what David Wood wants to do. Muzzy comes back. He says, Mike, you're people of the scripture. You don't uphold the Injil. 566. Unitarians are people of the scripture and Injil. Only they can judge. Whoa. Where does that say?
Where does the Quran say that?
Hold your horses there, Muzzy. Where does the Quran say Unitarian Christians? It doesn't say that. It just says people of the book.
Oh, man.
Of the kitab. And kitab is the Arabic word for Bible. So I don't know what you're talking about, man. You're changing what the Quran says. That's not what that verse says. So yeah, it doesn't say Unitarians. It says people of the book. By the way, show me where the Quran actually gets the Trinity correct. It seems to confuse Mary as part of the Trinity, and it says, do not say Allah is a third of three. Guess what? We don't say that. That's partialism. That's heresy.
Yeah.
No Christian says Allah is a third of three. So, yeah, never really actually condemns Trinitarian theology if you look at it. And you know who pointed this out for me was a Muslim. So, yeah, not sure what you're getting at there. But yeah, we'll do a live call-in show a week from today. Should be pretty awesome. Anything else you want to say, Than?
I got nothing, man. I'm just disappointed.
Well, once again, we have seen there is no good evidence that secularism is more optimal or better for humanity than Christianity. And the way they're now defining secular humanism is in an absurd way where they just get to take credit for anything that good happens, or it's completely untestable.
Yeah.
Meaning that, yeah, we just promote reason and morality and everything that's good. Great. No way to actually study that in a sociological sense.
I really would like if he would just, have some literature with him to, because look, let's just say he actually identified some negative things that Christianity has done for society. It still doesn't actually topple the debate because we still haven't seen any positive effects of secular humanism.
Mhm.
Like you need both. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, also, I mean, like, you better not cherry pick studies. And I mean by that, like, if you, I pointed this out in my my video, Is Christianity Harmful? Let's see if I can pull that up really fast. So yeah, I want to just move past this a little bit. Okay, here.
And do not rely on a collection of studies or meta-analyses. It's very easy to cherry pick the data to fit the conclusion you want. For example, this systematic review looked at 444 studies on depression and religiosity and found that most show religion and spirituality are negatively correlated with depression. But 6% reported greater depression levels among religious individuals, which is about 26 studies. So couldn't someone just write an article or make a video claiming that over 25 studies have indicated religion is associated with higher levels of depression?
I photoshopped that. I was pretty proud of it.
It would sound impressive.
You photoshopped this?
Yeah, because it's Saluni instead of Salon.
Oh. I don't know what
But it would be
Salon is a, kind of a, I made the author Phil McCracken because, I'm apparently 5 years old. But I mean, the point is, like, you could easily do this kind of crap.
Is associated with higher levels of depression? It would sound impressive, but it would be cherry-picked data. Likewise, when an atheist, a secularist, or anyone for that matter, cites one individual study or one bivariate comparison that seems to support the conclusion they have, we should be skeptical. Always check the source and don't let your opponent make a claim they cannot back up without evidence or sufficient reasoning.
So hopefully we won't get any of that. Is my point I was trying to make. Because, I've seen people do that. And so that's why I did that long video to just cover every objection that he.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's where I refer a lot of people. Jacob says, Than, I loved your video, not having any enemies in a world full of hostility. Very empowering and touching. It touched me deeply. Thank you.
Thank you for the kind words.
Al-Kitab is scripture. Kitab is book. Injil, never noted as Kitab. You're not smarter. You're not smart than God's linguistic. Listen, Muzzy, if you're going to say that, make sure you get your grammar right. Don't be doing that. You're not smart. Get your grammar wrong. It's a joke waiting to happen. Kitab is book.
Stream, man.
Yeah. If you talk to Giant DOC, they'll tell you that in Arabic, the word for Bible is kitab. But again, I can agree that Injil is never called kitab. I didn't even say that, Muzzy. Where did I say, yes, the Injil is the kitab? I didn't say that. It says, we are the people of the kitab. What is our book?
Yeah.
It's the Bible. Okay. It says we're to judge by the Injil. It does say that, but it says we're to observe the Torah, the gospel, and whatever has been revealed to you from your Lord. Whatever. That's the Bible. That includes all those books. That's when revealed to us. Because the Quran does not go on and specify anything beyond that. That's what we are to observe. And by the way, Muzzy, you are to believe in our scripture, according to Surah 29:46. So why don't you believe in our books? Welcome to the Islamic dilemma, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
All right. So we're gonna be live Monday. I'm gonna figure something out. I'm gonna upload my lecture that I just gave at a church in California tomorrow on why Christians should celebrate Halloween, or Muzzy, are we gonna do this all night? You are people of the Al-Kitab, not people of the Injil. Yes, thank you. You're right. We are. What are our scriptures? What are our scriptures, Muzzy? Wait, I can show you.
Muzzy, I'm hungry.
It's this. This is our scripture. You're right. We are people of this. We are called to observe it, according to the Quran. Welcome to the Islamic dilemma. Anyway, I'm going to close this out because Stan's hungry.
Very hungry.
Do you think the story of Jesus and the adulterous woman canon? You already asked this earlier on. Yeah. No, I think it was added on. I think it may have originally been like a later story that had circulated in the church, was fairly reliable, and they decided it needed to be in scripture because it was such a good story. That's generally my view. But anyway, close this out. We'll be live again Monday, doing something on Islam probably, because it's the year of the Islamic dilemma, baby. Gotta get back to that. Not these ridiculous straw man arguments.
It's been very fun looking at all the comments from my Bayesian Islamic dilemma.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, literally, this whole stream, though, was just us going, no, I didn't say that. What are you responding to?
Yeah.
Which I bet that'll be the rest of what he tries to do. But anyway, let's close this out. I'm not going to care anymore. I have more important things to do. You made it to the end of this video, which means this message matters to you. If you want to see more content like this reaching people for Christ, you can help make it happen. Your support makes these videos possible. Click the link below and donate today. And if you want to go even deeper, consider joining our Patreon community. You'll get early access to videos, behind-the-scenes content, and a place to connect with others passionate about this mission.